This is one of our most requested amps ever. You asked for it and now you shall receive. Hey everyone, this is Carlos from Amalgam Audio. This is the next video in our little series that we call StoryTime, where I delve a bit deeper into some of the amps that we're releasing for ToneX and Quad Cortex. So this was a very short-lived model in the Fender history. It was built only for 1 year. In the whole brown panel era was very short. It's just 3 years, from 1960 to 1963. Fender Vibroverb and the brown panel version is also very unique in the regard that it has a circuit and combination of effects that you do not see on any other brown panel era Fender. So it is in many ways a bridge from the brown panel to the black panel amps. Many of you know there are three main eras of Fender amps. There's the tweed era, the brown panel era, and the black panel era. Many consider the brown panel amps to be like a transition from the tweeds to the black phase. There are similarities drawn between both spectrums, so to speak, but I would like to talk about the brown panel amps rather as their own thing. They're actually really unique sounding. In many cases they are not direct connections in regard to the circuits. They are actually very different from the predecessors and successors, so it is a very unique thing. What is further unique about this brown panel amp is that it does not have the typical global presence control that many of the bigger brown panel amps have. This amp features 2 channels, which is the typical setup for the brown panel and black panel amps. It has a normal and a bright channel. The bright channel is the one that has the vibrato typically on the black panel amps. As this is a bias tremolo, the tremolo affects both channels, so it is effective on both channels. It has a treble and bass tone stack, no presence control, so it is bare bones minimum EQ section, but it still lets you dial in a lot of tones because the treble and bass knobs are quite interactive, so you can do a lot with them. Circuit-wise, it is actually really close to a black panel Vibroverb, but there are not many differences, but they're big enough so that this amp sounds very similar to its brown panel siblings and not so much similar to the black panel Vibroverb, for example. But it has a reverb, which is the very first amp by Fender that incorporated a built-in reverb. And it is also a very special design that Fender actually never used in any of the later models. It is a bit brighter and more open sounding than all the other versions of the later incarnations of the Fender Reverb. Despite people usually associate Fender as almost the inventors of reverb in an amp, Fender actually came a bit late to the party. Gibson, Ampeg, then Electro and some other brands had already incorporated reverb into their designs a couple of years earlier, actually in 1960 and 61. People often associate the brown panel amps as the crossover from the tweed to the black panel era, and it is often said that it is also like a crossover tonally, but I would like to talk about the brown panels as their own thing. They're actually, they have a very unique character and quality to the overdrive and to the clean tone that sets them apart from anything else. And within the brown panel family, all of those amps have a very similar inherent character. And that is, all of them have a very creamy, Marshall-esque overdrive that is more aggressive than other Fenders. And the clean tones are actually never really clean. They have a bit of a distortion quality to them that you can't really dial out. So if you're into really clean cleans, black panel amps are the thing to get. But if you are rather in the edge of breakup, crunch tones, the brown panel amps are hard to beat. And this one, the Vibroverb, is very special because it sits in a very Goldilocks position within the whole brown panel family. It is not as stiff as maybe concert and basement amps tend to be. It has a tube rectifier, so it has a softer response, and it goes smoother over into overdrive than the other amps, but it has more power than the deluxe version, for example. There's quite a few big names associated with this amp. John Mayer used it shortly, but Jeff Buckley is the artist who used it to quite an extent. He used this amp to record the Grace sessions for the whole album, and this is the amp responsible for his tone in this most iconic album of his. The choice for the name of the amp might appear a bit weird because it's called Vibroverb, but it doesn't actually have vibrato. Instead it has tremolo, but that is because Leo Fender used to not distinguish properly between tremolo and vibrato. The black panel amps, you have a normal and a vibrato channel, which is always actually a tremolo. So the same goes for this amp. Fabian will play you out with some riffs played on the captures we made of this wonderful amp. Like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content, and see you around. Bye.